Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Nice crowd. My goodness, has Medina, Ohio changed
Yes.
since my family and I first moved here? I could tell you stories. I beg your pardon. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Zenus Hamilton, and I am originally from Danbury, Connecticut. When I heard that there was land available in the new frontier, I decided that I wanted to be a part of the new Connecticut. A gentleman by the name of Boardman had some land that he decided he was going to sell off, since he decided he just couldn't part with his comfortable surroundings back east. So I decided to buy myself a nice parcel. Now, Mr. Boardman hired himself a land agent to sell the land directly. But since I was itching to get out here, and I'd already purchased my land, I packed up my wife and my 7 children, and we headed on out and arrived here before the land agent. We got into this neck of the woods in October of 1814, and we immediately took up shelter in a cabin that had been abandoned by the Hinman brothers during the Great Indian Scare of 1812. Now, that cabin was hardly shelter enough for a family of our size, so as quickly as possible we went and built ourselves a brand new one. Now, for the first 18 months, we were the only settlers in this area. And since we decided to settle in here and put down some roots, well, that made us the first permanent settlers in Medina. Now, as I said, we were here for about 18 months all by ourselves until a gentleman named James Moore came along in March of 1816. Right behind him came a fellow named James Palmer and Jacob Marsh, and by then, well, the move was on. Now, Rufus Ferris, Mr. Boardman's land agent, he finally got around to getting out here in June of 1816. Well, along with him came his family and a number of men in his employ, and they immediately began to start clearing the land for us. And soon, we had wheat and corn growing. And by the fall time, they had cleared a total of 5 parcels of land. So now, we were no longer alone in our struggles here on the new frontier. Now, given the basics of things became trouble for us at first, simple things like having cornmeal. In order to have cornmeal, we took corn and we placed it into a leather pouch, and then we had to pound it with the head of an axe. And we also had to shell our wheat and our rye by hand and then boil it so we could even eat it. And that was before I could take it to a mill to be ground, which was 20 miles away. Yeah. Now, fortunately for us, shortly after we arrived here, I was able to kill a bear. Oh, this area was very rich with game. In fact, during the first few years of life here, I managed to kill a good 15 bears and a large number of deer and wild turkey. Well, we were well supplied with meat anyway. But it wasn't until after the first year that we were here that I was able to purchase a cow. Well, my children were very happy to see me lead her home that day, let me tell you. We held our first public religious service in March of 1817. This was conducted by Reverend Roy Searle, who went on to form St. Paul's Parish of Medina. In April of that year, we built our first log meeting house, which we then used as a school, with classes taught by Eliza Northrup. In the fall time, they finally got around to building a log mill way over out in Weymouth, and the following year, they added a grist mill. Now, in 1818, Captain Austin Badger arrived with orders to start clearing the land for Medina's public square. He also built our first courthouse. Now, those times were tough. We experienced both joys and hardships at first. My son Matthew was the first baby born here in Medina in 1815. I also helped to bury the young daughter of Isabel Parmalee in 1817. We saw the clearing of land and the building of a new community. We all worked together, we divided up the jobs, including yours truly, Zenus Hamilton Esquire. I was the first justice of the peace. Now these stories don't begin to tell the full story of the settling of Medina. But by the blessing of a good and kind providence, many of us live to realize more than our most optimistic expectations for life in this new frontier. As you continue your tour around our square tonight, I ask you just to try and imagine what it was like for me and my family when we first arrived. Nothing but wilderness as far as the eye could see. I thank you for listening as I recall just a little bit about Medina as she used to be. Enjoy your tour, folks, and thank you.
How come it's not named Hamilton?
A parcel of land.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.